Top stories tonight. Where in the world will DeAndre Hopkins land? We're already starting a bidding war for his services between the Chiefs and the Bills. But do they actually want him, or do they just want to make sure the other team doesn't get him? All that and much, much more on Player Profiler today. So DeAndre Hopkins, he has been cut, as you all know, happened a couple days ago. I was not on the show, but DeAndre Hopkins cut by the Cardinals, surprisingly enough, especially considering the Bills and the Chiefs did negotiate with the Arizona Cardinals for DeAndre Hopkins. They engaged in extensive trade talks, just couldn't reach a deal, but it's confusing that they were calling about a trade and then didn't get anything for DeAndre Hopkins. Crazy world. But now he's a free agent. He can pick where he goes next, and teams can pick how much of a contract they offer. Teams can decide how interested they are in DeAndre Hopkins. And right now, the favorites are the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And this should not come as a surprise to anyone because we've talked about how much the Bills need a second receiver to take the pressure off Stephon Diggs. Kansas City needs a wide receiver one with Travis Kelce as the focal point of the passing game, but their wide receiver room, not what it used to be, but they need him less than the Buffalo Bills. We just saw Patrick Mahomes with a ragtag group last year win a Super Bowl. It's a worse group this year, but it's Patrick Mahomes. So the Bills need him. The Chiefs aren't actually that interested in DeAndre Hopkins. They are more interested in keeping DeAndre Hopkins away from Buffalo than they are in actually landing DeAndre Hopkins. And it sounds as though Buffalo feels the same. I would just happen to doubt that. Chiefs know they can do it without Hopkins. He's nice. He would be a great piece, but they're more worried about what he adds to Buffalo. Buffalo should know they can't get it done without him. This passing game from last year, even adding Dalton Kincaid, doesn't upgrade things enough. And so the Bills need DeAndre Hopkins. The Chiefs are competing with the Bills for DeAndre Hopkins. Everyone wants to make sure he doesn't want to go, or he doesn't go to the other powerhouse. And then you look at how the odds have shifted as we open up. The Cowboys are the favorite to land DeAndre Hopkins, and then that plummets. Cowboys seem to be out of the running per Vegas odds. Same with the New Orleans Saints. The Cincinnati Bengals, they weren't even on FanDuel. They weren't even listed, the odds there. Instead, it is the Buffalo Bills favorited at plus 350, the Chiefs at plus 400, the Patriots surprisingly not far behind at plus 500, but he ain't going to New England. As much as they need DeAndre Hopkins, the fact that he has full autonomy, he gets to decide where he goes, he's not going to New England to play with Bill O'Brien. That is not happening. The Ravens plus 700, that one could happen. The Ravens have a bunch of money in salary cap. They could trade Rashad Bateman if they want, or keep him and have a dominant group of 4 receivers. And then we have the Jets, the Browns, the Packers. They're all over a plus 1,000 or plus 1,200 odds. Panthers, Lions, Chargers, Eagles, all plus 1,600. So where does DeAndre Hopkins land? I've been saying it for some time now. I think it's going to be the Buffalo Bills. They need him more than any other team does. And you need to hear a word from our friends over at Underdog Fantasy.
Let's take a moment to talk about Underdog Fantasy. Now, many of you have already signed up. Thousands have signed up from Player Profiler already over the years. Underdog has supported us since 2020. Much of what you see on Player Profiler is because of Underdog, because of their support. Get the Underdog app, plug in that promo code UNDERWORLD. I used to play Underdog just for the best ball drafts. I mean, the best ball drafts are amazing. These draft rooms fill so quickly, and you can win life-changing money. You want to take advantage of all the sleepers we talk about on this show? Well, what better place than in an Underdog draft room to do that? And I recommend taking your Underdog play to the next level by diving into their NFL pick'ems. It's important to correlate those NFL pick'ems. You can pick both the quarterbacks and the wide receivers to exceed expectations. Correlate them, and you can 5x your payout. Bada bing, bada boom. Underdog Fantasy, the promo code is UNDERWORLD. For an instant deposit match up to $100, Underdog is the truest friend of the underworld.
Underdog is the truest friend of the underworld. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the truest friend to whatever QB he lands with. And Gardner Minshew is for true going to be starting week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. I have been talking about it for some time now, and it's already happening. Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson, they are splitting the role. They are splitting the first team reps 50-50. And if already 21-year-old Anthony Richardson is getting the snaps with the first team equal to Gardner Minshew, the vet, who knows this offense from last year, there is a 0% chance, barring injury, that Gardner Minshew starts the season. This is Anthony Richardson's team. And the Jaguars are saying this is not Travis Etienne's team, that they do not want Travis Etienne to have 74% of the running back attempts. No. The Jaguars, like Doug Peterson has had many, many times in the past, they want it to be a committee, and that committee includes Tank Bigsby. And it was interesting. Dwayne McFarland, friend of Player Profiler, friend of the show, Dwayne McFarland over at Matthew Berry Fantasy Life, one of the top analysts in the game right now. The guy is top drawer. So he puts out, they put out a quote graphic that Travis Etienne underperformed, and everyone loses their minds. But he did underperform. He only had 4 RB1 finishes and a 5th high-end RB2 finish, and then a bunch of RB3 finishes. Travis Etienne was disappointing, especially as a receiver. The elite receiving profile that we saw at Clemson, he showed none of that. JaMychal Hasty was getting far more targets than Travis Etienne on a game-per-game basis. So I won't be at all surprised when Tank Bigsby is more involved with the Jaguars than we expect. Travis Etienne, he's going to struggle with workload. Still going to have a lot of success. Still going to have a lot of highlight runs. Still going to have a lot of breakaway plays. Still going to put up a lot of fantasy points in some games. But Travis Etienne, he's not going to be the RB1. Probably not going to be an RB1. He's more likely going to finish as an RB2 this year with Tank Bigsby stealing some carries. And finally, for our rookie update, Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is currently behind Malik Davis and behind Ronald Jones for the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, it's Tony Pollard at the top, Malik Davis, Ronald Jones vying for that second role. But we all know that Deuce Vaughn is going to have a role of his own. Malik Davis and Ronald Jones, they're fighting to be that RB2, that in between the tackles grinder. And Tony Pollard is him. Tony Pollard is the bell cow for this team. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got some bad news this week. Kenny Pickett had his car stolen, and in his car, he lost his playbook. Not good. Pittsburgh Steelers might have their playbook sold on the black market. I wonder if this thief knows the value they got when they stole Kenny Pickett's car, but at the same time, makes it easier to track down. You put up a Pittsburgh Steelers playbook for sale, it's going to be pretty obvious where you got that one from. So Kenny Pickett, he's trying to find his playbook, trying to find his car. Best of luck to him. Sucks to lose something, but Kenny Pickett loses his playbook. Allen Robinson, though, not worried about it. Allen Robinson says Kenny Pickett is well beyond his years. Allen Robinson is a Kenny Pickett fan. And Le'Veon Bell is once again a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Le'Veon Bell regrets his words, petty exit from Pittsburgh, and he wants to retire with the team. He has not officially retired, Le'Veon Bell, and he says the reason is when he retires, he is going to do it with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he might want to take a couple of preseason carries with the Steelers, interestingly enough. Not sure how that works. And he says this is the only team he would do it for. He's retiring a Steeler. He doesn't want to play again. He just wants to strap on the pads for the Steelers one more time, get some carries in a preseason game, and make up for lost time, it sounds. It sounds as though Le'Veon Bell has decided that time heals wounds, and holding on to bitterness in your heart is not always the best way to go about it. So Le'Veon Bell, he has moved on from the anger he held towards Pittsburgh Steelers and is ready to retire with them. And finally, speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown is offering $150,000 to Cam Newton to join him for one game in the Arena League, play for the Albany Empire. The problem with that, I would advise Cam Newton not to. And not because I don't want to see Cam Newton in the Arena League. Not because I don't think it would be fun. Not because I don't think it would draw. I think from a business perspective, this is a great idea. The reason I say don't do it, Cam, is because Antonio Brown notoriously doesn't always pay his bills, according to sources, according to reporting that we've all read. So just be careful, Cam. It would be awful to see you go out there and get nothing for it. Rounding out the news, Quinnen Williams is not that far apart from the New York Jets on a new contract. They have been fighting in the media. They've been working towards it. They're getting close. Trey Lance has been 100% since March, but you heard about that a couple days ago. Trey Lance, could he be QB1 for the 49ers? Or could QB1 for the 49ers end up being Jimmy Garoppolo? Wow. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo might not be a Raider. You probably heard that last night, but Jimmy Garoppolo failed his physical to start the year when he signed the contract with the Raiders, and that is why they delayed his press conference. We knew something was up, that he hadn't signed his contract, that the press conference got delayed. We were all wondering what's going on with Jimmy G. Well, as it turns out, he failed the physical. The foot was not healthy, and now, because of that, they've adjusted the contract. Jimmy G did not get a signing bonus. It was all pushed to base salary. So that way, if Jimmy G can't pass a physical later this summer, the Raiders can cut him and move on for nothing. No penalty whatsoever. And if that happens, who are they starting? Not Jimmy G. You could go to the 49ers once again. I don't know where Jimmy G will actually go if he fails his physical. But the Raiders, who do they have? Do they have Aiden O'Connell? Is that the guy they drafted, right? No. They have Brian Hoyer? Even worse? What happens if Jimmy G can't play for the Raiders? If Jimmy G can't play for the Raiders, we're looking at QB1 Carson Wentz.